Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Department of English, I welcome you all to the 11th lecture of our lecture series. We are delighted to have with us Dr. Jolly Das, Associate Professor, Department of English, Vidyasagar University. She will be speaking on the modalities of term paper presentation. At the onset, I would request Professor Aparajita Hajra, Dean Faculty of Arts, to kindly welcome Dr. Das. Professor Hajra, please.
Hello, Aparna. I missed out on something. Did you ask me to say something?
Yes. I requested you to, give the welcome note.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I probably because of very weak internet, I don't get out. I don't get out. So hoping that everybody can hear me. Well, hello everyone out there,
Yes,
this side as well as that side of the screen. Yeah, you can hear me.
yes, Aparajita Di, you are absolutely audible
All
now.
right, thank you. Right. So today, as a part of the lecture series that we organize in the department under the aegis of Modhumita, who's a wonderful head of the department, she's forever organizing these lecture series one after the other. We have today Professor Jolly Dash. She's from Vidyasagar University. She's going to talk on the nitty gritties of research methodology. One reason for inviting her over was, of course, the absolute need for knowledge in the know how in research methodology, how to do the citations, how to frame out an article, how not to plagiarize, and so on and so forth. But more than that, it was a wish to listen to Jolly D, as I call her, all because she's such a wonderful, splendid speaker. She has a cool, non-assuming, down-to-earth manner of going about things, that goes down so well when it comes to explaining certain things. So I have had the wonderful experience of associating with her because I am in, I think, numerous committees in her university, that is Vidyasagar University, and thus know her as a great human being also, who's very wonderful to work with. Welcome to DHW, Jolity, Professor Das, Jolity for me. So now, after a formal introduction, Jolity, the stage will be all yours. So over to you, Madhumita.
Thank you, Aparajita Di. Thank you for that very warm introduction to Professor Das. I would now request my colleague Kumaradita Shorkar to formally introduce Professor Das.
Thank you, Apurnadi. Thank you very much. Dr. Das is an associate professor of English in the Department of English, Vidyasagar University, and she is also academically associated with several institutions of higher learning, including University of East Anglia in UK and Nuremberg University of Music in Germany. She is an erudite scholar who has published numerous articles in various journals and also has lectured widely on various subjects and conferences, seminars all over the country. Her academic expertise include the works of T.S. Eliot and Girish Karnad, and she is also an authority on Indian drama, translation studies, as well as the Indian autochthones, particularly the Sabar and the Kedia tribes. Her monographs include Eliot's Prismatic Plays, A Multifaceted Quest in 2007, and again, tracing Karnad's theatrical trajectory and integrated approach to his life and creativity in 2015. She's also the chief editor of the Journal of the Department of English in Vidyasagar University, as well as the co-editor of the international peer-reviewed journal Perspectives, which is published by the Department of English, Raja Pyari Mohan College in Uttarpara, Hooghly. Uh, we are all eagerly looking forward to hearing you, ma'am. So over to your deliberations, please.
Thank you, Dr. Kumara Sarkar. Before I go ahead with whatever little I have been able to put together, particularly for the students, I must certainly, this is not the formal offering of thanks to the organizers, but Professor Aparajita Hajra again, Aparajita for me has been a very good friend of mine. She was in this region in the Shizukanobisha University. Now she has gone over to the extreme south, to Diamond Harbour Women's University. But her moving away from here to there has not changed either her love for her students a single bit, or her association with us in our university, which, as she has pointed out, has is there in many ways. So, a very big thank you to Aparajita for connecting me with your department, and more importantly with your students, because getting connected with students is really refreshing for us as teachers. A very big thank you to uh, Dr. Modhumita Mojumdar, the head of the department, not only for inviting me, but for considering me as someone who will be of use to your department. And I look forward to visiting Diamond Harbour Women's University and the Department of English, hopefully in the near future. The other teachers in the department, Dr. Aparna Singh, who is here, and Dr. Kumaraditya Shortkar, I also thank you for being here. And I would also tell you that if you are feeling bored, then please let me know, or you may leave. So I begin on that note. I will share screen a few slides which I have been able to put together very hurriedly, in fact, yesterday. And of course, thank you for the wonderful poster. I am not very photogenic, but that picture in the postcard really makes me feel very good about the whole thing. So, as has been pointed out in the poster, it's all about arranging and presenting a term paper, something with which our students are uncomfortable, particularly, the first semester students. They really don't know how to go about it, because when they come out of college and to the university, and a term paper is a compulsory part of their getting ready for the future, they are very worried about whether it is correct. They are anxious about getting good marks. So it's quite messy. As we found out, particularly, during the last 3 days, I've been taking internal assessment presentation of our first semester students, and it is the first semesters who find it a little more difficult than the others, because for them this is the first time. So I'm going to uh, bring to you the students. So my target audience will obviously be the students. And since this is a workshop, I will also expect that if they have any problems, they can place them here, and we'll see whether we can resolve them here or maybe afterwards. So we begin with writing the term paper, and then we'll move on to presenting it. So how to arrange the whole thing? The final paper, when it is ready, should have these following sections in it. First, there should be the title. Then there should be an abstract with the heading abstract there. Uh, this is not the one which I want to show. Okay. Then there should be the abstract. Then there should be a few keywords. Following the keywords, you have your paper, that is the essay. And after the essay, you have the list of works cited. In some cases, it is found that the students would also like to put in a word of acknowledgement, particularly to their teachers. So if they want to do that, they can do it after the work cited or before they begin the paper, as they wish. There is one other thing which I would like to point out here before I go ahead. That is, what I'll be discussing here today is for a typed submission and not a handwritten submission. So whatever will be here is for typing things out. So how do you go about writing the paper? Just as I said, in my previous slide, this is the order in which the final paper will appear when it is ready for submission, and after it is submission, if the submission is done, for evaluation. So this is the order in which it will come. But when you are writing the paper, this is the order which is preferable, because it helps the student to organize the paper in a better manner. So first you write the essay, and in order to write the essay you need a topic, and the topic is not the title. The topics may come in two ways. The usual method is the department making an announcement with a set of topics on which you can write your term paper. Or you may be given the freedom to choose a topic which is related to your curriculum and write a paper. So, whatever the case may be, you need to select a topic. When you select the topic, very obviously you will want to make sure that at the end of the day, the paper is meaningful for you, you enjoy writing the paper, and it also fetches you good grades. Therefore, you choose the topic carefully. After you have selected the topic, which usually for end semester submissions deal with either texts or specific areas of study, you will first collect the primary texts which you need to study. If you have not read them already, please read them. Following which, on your specialization for that particular essay, you will also look for certain reference material which will come by way of secondary sources. So they may be books, chapters, journal articles, essays, things like that. So they form your secondary material. After you have brought them together, obviously you read them and start writing the essay. So first you write the essay. After you have written the essay satisfactorily, you write its abstract, which is a very brief summary of the essay. We come to the abstract afterwards. After that, you pick about 4 or 5 words and put them as keywords. Finally, after you've done all this, you'll be able to understand that you are in a position to give this entire exercise an appropriate title. So you write your title, and of course, the list of works cited is very easy to make because it will depend on whatever you have read and used in writing your essay. Now, to get to the essay. When you write the essay, it should have this kind of a structure. There should be an introduction and a conclusion. Following the introduction, you have a series of paragraphs, and the paragraphs could have subtitles to make it convenient for you when you write the paper and to make it convenient for the evaluator when the evaluation of that paper is done. So it is very, very organized if you are able to put in a few subtitles. But if you think that you are comfortable without them, then you can go ahead without using the subtitles. The introduction will obviously introduce the topic which you want to discuss in that essay. Following the introduction, in the introduction itself, you will also mention the texts which you are going to study for this essay as you place your argument logically one after the other. After reading the texts, mentioning the text which you will read, you will also go ahead, and because this is a very small exercise, it would be better if you could mention 1 or 2 essays or texts which come very close to your proposed area of study and show how what you are going to do will be different. But if you find it difficult, then you can just mention that these are the works which are also very close to what I am going to do. Because usually in research papers, it is expected that you will make a contribution, possibly a significant contribution, or at least say something different from what already exists. So for that, what we do usually is to read texts which already exists and which have dealt with the similar kind of argument and show how you differ. And this entire thing has a name. It is called literature review. So if literature review is possible, then it's better to put in a paragraph on the literature review. In discussing your area which you have selected, you may require a few theoretical parameters. So you mention those theoretical parameters too. Now, how do you select those theoretical parameters? You know what you're going to say. You know what theory you may need to write your essay and establish your argument. But in order to be able to do that, after following your literature review, you will also be able to point out the gaps which are there in those works which already exist. And by mentioning those gaps, you will also be able to point out that you wish to address, to deal with those particular gaps. Those gaps, or maybe for a brief essay, one or two gaps, will be the places which will help you to address your chosen area and to frame questions which will deal with those gaps. So after literature review, you have research gap, which can be addressed by framing certain questions. And the answers to those questions will be your paper. And in order to write that paper, then, after you have framed your research questions, you know what theories you've got to apply. So you mention those theories in brief and go on to place your argument. So this is how you build your argument, and obviously at the end, you will draw a conclusion. When you come to the conclusion, you may feel, and usually we do feel, that this could lead to more research, more questions in this area. And that could also be pointed out in the conclusion, that there are other areas which could develop from here. So this is more or less the essay which you will write. After you have written the essay, you get to the abstract. The abstract is a summary of the essay. So before you come to the summary of the essay should be complete. You may have to go through several drafts of the essay before you come to its final version. Usually for beginners, 3 or 4 drafts are necessary. If you need it, you can go into more such drafts until you are satisfied with your work. Then you write the abstract, and finally you select 4 or 5 words, very important words from what you have written, and keep them as keywords. So now, after having worked so hard, you know the precise title which the essay should have. For this, what you do is usually to take a piece of paper and jot down a few titles which you think would go well with the essay you have written. Uh, think over them for a while and then decide on the final one. So now your order is ready. You have the title, the abstract, the keywords, and the essay. So now works cited remains. For works cited, we usually go to the MLA 7 or MLA 8 style. Although MLA 9 is now available also in the PDF form, but we have not introduced them as of now to our students. So I think it is better to go to either MLA 7 or MLA 8 as your style form. When you write the paper, okay, let's deal with the works cited first. Now this is a tricky bit. There are 2 kinds of nomenclature. One is works cited, the other is bibliography. A bibliography is a list of the books or other items which you have read in order to write your essay. But the list of works cited is very specific, and it indicates only and only whatever material you have used in order to write your essay. And here you will put both your primary sources, that is the texts which you are studying, and the secondary sources, that is the literature review which you have made and the texts engaged with that, as well as theoretical texts and other sources which you have used, works by other critics whom you may have quoted or referred to. All these will go into the list of works cited. So, this is a list of all the works referred to in the essay, from where facts, opinions, quotations, films, recordings, other non print sources, etc., are taken or used. It lists all the works cited in the essay. It simplifies documentation, because whenever you say something in an academic essay, it is required that you produce evidence. So the list of works cited is actually a lead to the evidence that you have used in order to build your argument and come to your conclusion. It appears at the end of the essay and provides a comprehensive list of all the works referred to in the essay. So, it gives a systematically arranged and detailed information about each work cited. Now, before we go further ahead, there is a word of warning, and your dean has already mentioned it in her introductory lecture. She has used the term plagiarism. Now, when I write, I may use exactly either words in their arrangement as found in the writings of others, or ideas which are very unique to certain texts and pass them off as my own. Now, that is termed plagiarism, and plagiarism is a technical term, but we also call it similarity, meaning I have used phrases, whole sentences, or maybe an entire text from a source which already exists, either in the hard copy form or in the web in different soft copy versions, and I have passed them off as my own. You know that there are many such similarity checking applications, and if that is discovered, then there are very strict penalties which can be imposed on us. So we should be careful. Now, what are the kinds of plagiarism? Broadly speaking, there are two kinds: using another person's ideas, information, expressions without acknowledging that person's work is called intellectual theft. So, is it that I will not be able to use anything, but I find it so important for my argument? Of course, I can use it, but I will have to resort to certain methods to quote from the text and mention the source. So, the mentioning of the source in my essay should be connected to my list of works cited, and if I am able to do this, then I cannot be implicated with resorting to plagiarism. The other is passing off another person's ideas, information, or expression as mine. This is called fraud. So we can neither resort to intellectual theft nor to fraud. So we should be very careful. We should beware, and we should avoid plagiarism. So what should we do? We can use others' ideas, facts, words. We may agree with them, we may disagree with them, we may analyze them, but we must always acknowledge the source. So we must methodically practice citation and documentation. Citation is in-text citation, that is mentioning the source from where I have taken an idea or a quotation, or and to document it in the list of works cited. Then I am absolutely safe. And just let me tell you in passing that when teachers evaluate the essays, they always look at how you have resorted to citation and documentation. This carries quite heavy marks during evaluation. Now, therefore, for documentation, you must be able to document everything: direct quotation, paraphrases, even paraphrases. You cannot paraphrase from someone else. All kinds of information, facts, and ideas. So, in the list of works cited, you can either have primary sources and secondary sources, or you can avoid this and put all your documented texts, the cited texts, together in a particular order, which I will come to very soon. So I will skip this. These are the secondary, actually the primary sources are the texts which you use as the primary focus of your dissertation or your essay, and other sources will be like interviews, letters, memoirs can be treated as primary sources because they are directly related to the author whom you are reading as your primary text. The secondary sources would be all other material which will help you to establish your argument and come to your conclusion. Now, what are the basic formats? For books and parts of books, this is not for journals. It is a whole book or a book chapter. You usually have this format. The surname of the author will come first, and the list will appear in the order of the alphabet, like you have in a dictionary of the surname of the author. So the surname will come first. Then, after a comma, you write the first name. If there is a middle name or more middle names, then they will follow the first name, and there will be a full stop after that. Then you have the book title, and if there is a subtitle, then the subtitle will come after a colon, and the whole thing, that is the book title, including the subtitle, should be in italics. There should be no space after a word and before a punctuation mark. But after the punctuation mark, there should be a single space before you begin the first word. I repeat, after a word, when there is a punctuation, there should be no space between the two of them. After a punctuation, when you begin writing the next word, there should always be a single space between the punctuation and the word you write after it. So you can see here, this is the format that has been followed. After the book title and subtitle have been given, you put a full stop. Then you write the place of publication, the name of, you put a colon, you put the name of the publisher, you put a comma, you write the year of publication, put a full stop, and then write the medium, whether it is print or web or whatever it is. For place of publication, sometimes you will find that there are a series of names. You write the name of the first place of publication. If the name of the publisher is too long, you write the first few words which should indicate which publisher you are referring to, and that could suffice. So now we will go to a few examples. When there is a book with one author, in the list of works cited, this is the order which is followed. So you have the surname first, no space, comma, space, the first name, full stop, space, then the name of the book, full stop, the place of publication, the name of the publisher, the date of publication, that is the year, and the medium, it is print. When you are going to use a quotation from this particular book in your essay, then after first you open quotes, no space, you copy the lines which you think are necessary, as they are found in the text without making any changes, then you close inverted commas, put a space, open bracket, write the surname of the author, put a space, write the page numbers from where you have taken the quotation. So if it is a very brief quotation, possibly it will be from one page or maybe 2 pages if it continues to the next page. You close bracket and then put the full stop. The full stop will come after the bracket is closed when you are making a citation in the body of the text. But suppose your citation, that is your quotation, is very long, or your quotation 4 or 5 lines contains 4 or 5 lines from a poem. Then what are you going to do? You are typing, so you will go to a fresh line, press the tab once, so there will be an indentation. Then you start writing the first line of the poem. You come to the next line, you'll find your cursor has reached the margin. So you put the tab once again and it will shift to exactly below the first line you've already written, and you copy the second line, so on and so forth. You come to the end of your quotation and you find that after those 4 lines you have copied, there is a full stop or an exclamation mark or a semicolon or some sort of a punctuation. What you do is you put the punctuation there, put a tab, and then open bracket and write your citation. So, if it is an in-text citation, the punctuation comes after the bracket. If it is an indented citation, the punctuation will come after the quotation and not after the citation of the source. If it is an in-text citation, it will be within double inverted commas. If it is an indented citation, then there will be no inverted commas of any kind. So these are the places where we tend to make mistakes. So from the beginning, it's good to be conscious about them, and then you get used to it and there'll be no problem. Suppose there's a book with 2 or 3 authors. What do? In the works cited, you put the surname of the first author, put a comma, and write the name of the first author. If there are 2 names, like here, the first name comes first, the middle name comes next. After that, you put a comma. Write and write the name or names or name of all the other co-author or authors one after the other without changing the order of the name as it appears. So here the surname will follow in its place. So you have the first name, the middle name, and the surname for all the other authors. Excuse me. And then you have the name of the book and the publication details. When you make an in-text citation, you write the surname of the first author as well as the surname of the second author. Suppose you have many authors, maybe 3 authors, then what do? You will not write the surnames of all the authors because that is going to be very, very difficult for you, and it will be a distraction for whoever is going to read your essay. So what you do is you write the name, the surname, of the first author, and after that you write in small letters E.T. full stop and put a space and write A.L. full stop and put a space. All right, you can do that, and E.T. and A.L. will be in the small hand. So this is also another method. But you will not put these inverted commas. They are here just to show you what you've got to write. You just write the name of the person and write ETAL like you have been shown here. So this is another method. Now for journals. For the journal articles, the basic format for print journals is like this. The surname of the author, the first name, the article title, and if it has a subtitle, then the subtitle. But now it will be within double inverted commas, and there will be a full stop before the close inverted commas are put. After that, you have the title of the journal, its volume, its issue number with year in brackets. Put a colon and the range of all the pages which contain that article, and then the medium, that is print. If it is online, then you have to put the URL, that is the database title, and in your list of work cited, you will have to mention the date of access, that is the day, the month, and the year on which you have accessed that URL. So, this is one example of an online journal, and uh, sorry, this is for an online periodical, yes, and this is also another example where you have more than one author. Now, when you type a paper, the format you should begin to learn to follow, and this will help you to carry on in future for as long as you wish to write, is this. The font type will be Times New Roman. The font size will be 12. The line spacing, the standard is 2, but sometimes because students have to take printouts and it becomes cost effective, we advise our students to use 1.5. This is for their benefit, but the standard line spacing is 2. It is better to remove spaces between paragraphs before and after them. So this is how you set your page before you begin to write. The margins preferably should be 1 inch to your left, 1 inch on top, and 1 inch at the bottom, and half an inch to the right. And you will write on only one side of a white sheet of paper as a printout. Italics and double inverted commas. Titles of novels, plays, anthologies, etc. should be in italics. Titles of essays, short and medium length poems, short stories, etc. should be within double inverted commas. And you should be very careful about this. Now then, when you are ready with your paper and you want to make a presentation, nowadays, uh, let me make a very brief digression here. Basically, paper presentations are insisted upon both by the University Grants Commission and the different universities is because you are now being trained to go to the wider world and place yourselves as competent candidates for various jobs. And all kinds of interviews nowadays expect that you make a very, very engrossing presentation. It should be very professional and very, very focused. And one very important tool to be able to do this is the use of a PowerPoint presentation. A PowerPoint presentation, so to say, will help you in two ways. The most important thing is it will give you the lead to carry on with your verbal discussion, because you will not be expected to use a printed paper from where you are going to read out. That will go against you. So it will be expected that you will speak extempore. Now, without something in front of you, it is very difficult, as you understand, because most of us, I think almost all of us over here, if I'm not wrong, do not have English as their mother tongue. So for us, English is a language which we learn afterwards. And it becomes very difficult to speak in English without something in front of us. At least a piece of paper helps. I can read out from there. If there is nothing, then I'm completely lost. And no matter how much I've tried to memorize something, when I'm there standing in front of pairs and pairs of eyes of friends, of teachers, and afterwards of people who are going to interview me, I simply go blank. I can't remember anything. In this case, the PowerPoint presentation is very, very helpful. So when you make a PowerPoint presentation, be very careful about two things. making it useful for your discussion and making it interesting for those for whom you are making that presentation. All your information should be there in the slides, properly organized. They should not become overcrowded and cumbersome, because then whoever is seeing them will not be able to understand what you are trying to put there, and will become disgusted, bored, and will be put off and not interested in what you are going to say. So that should not be done, and there should not be too little material either. So all the slides should be properly balanced with information. They should be very interesting. They should be logically developed. When you are preparing your slides, you work on them so much that you know what is there. But when you are going to show your slides to someone who's going to see it for the first time, the slides should not become something which that person is not able to understand. And when you prepare your slides, you should again be very cautious about acknowledging sources of pictures or information which you need to borrow from the internet or other sources of information. Now, when you make slides for your paper, they should match with the content of your paper. So after you've written your paper, everything is ready. You open Microsoft PowerPoint and you begin creating your slides. The first slide will carry the title of your paper and your personal details, your name, your road number, your registration number, USIN, etc. And the second slide is preferable, where you put the layout of your paper. What are the things you want to discuss over there? So you just put them there. So in your case, you'll have the abstract, the keywords, the essay, and the list of what's cited if you want to put it in your slides. So that will be your second slide. The third slide, you need not go into the abstract, because now you are going to look at the slide and speak out on the basis of your slides. So you prepare them accordingly. So they must match with the content of the paper. They must not be burdened with material and appear clumsy, as I've told you. They must not distract the audience. And for your convenience, you can number them. Now, when you make your presentation, suppose the teacher who's taking your presentation allows you to read out from the paper, then it's wonderful, it's fantastic. So what you do is, in your paper, you just mark out slide 1, slide 2, so you know where to press the key and change the slide. And therefore, it is preferable that you put numbers for your slides, so that suppose you miss out on one, you'll not be absolutely puzzled, and you won't know what to do. Immediately you can change the slide accordingly, because you have the numbers on the paper you're reading and the numbers on the slides. So now I am going to show you some slides from a presentation I made by way of an example. Okay, uh, let's go to presenting the paper. I'll come back to the slides later on, because I can't change my slides here. So when you present the paper, uh, the first slide will be there, as I told you. So this is how you go ahead with reading the paper. It should be there with the title of your paper, your name, and other details. Then you read the paper. You should change the slides following the numbering. And when you read the paper, you should be very careful. You should not scream, but you should be audible. So loud enough to be audible. You should articulate your words very carefully. So read at the normal pace. So this is as far as this slideshow is concerned. Now I shall move on to an example. Just about 2 more minutes and I'll finish. I'm not sure why this isn't coming. Okay, if you have questions, then I think we could go ahead. And if I'm able to show these slides, I'll do it. Okay, here it is. This is a set of slides. I've chosen this, I've already used them, and I did this in collaboration with some students who were there in the previous fourth semester, that is last year, 2022. So, this is how I prepared my slides. I put the picture of the students because they were all collaborating with me, and I put my picture on the other side. So, this is the picture which I have used. So this is the sketch of the discussion as I have put it there. And in the introduction, I have put some reference material. So if you want to, you can also put the QR code, which can then be used, as you know, if anyone wants to access that site. So this is what I've done. I'm just showing them to you. There's no need for reading them out. So these are the theories I have used. Now this is another one because it was on gender equality. So I was going to look at gender equality, and my focus would be on one particular episode in Girish Karnad's play Yayati. So I introduced the audience because they don't, I take it for granted that all of them are not familiar with Girish Karnad's plays. So I showed in one slide the plays which he has written. And because I was going to focus on this one, I kept it like this. So this is how you begin to create your own slideshow by borrowing things which are already there in your computer, or maybe some other ways. And I must say that students are much better off in this case than people like me who are very old fashioned. So I brought the story of the myth of Yayati to the audience, assuming that they may not know it in this manner. So this pictorial or graphic representation helps me to tell the story. So as I tell the story, I keep pointing to these things. Then I come to the play, tell the story, and this is what I want to show, that Panigrahan becomes a problem for Yayati because he had held the hands of two women before, and they forced him to marry them. And this time he couldn't hold the hand of his daughter-in-law because it wouldn't be possible for him to marry her, obviously. So this is how I start creating my slideshow so that it becomes interesting. And as I explain my point, I keep using these different slides. And these are some of the responses of my students. So this girl, she paints very well, Momita, and she has created these pictures as her way of comprehending the episode which we would be using for that presentation. So this is Momita's input, and these are the two students who played the roles of Yayati and Chitralekha in the play. And we went to the episode and we made a very brief video recording of the episode, and you can see this is the unit. And so I wanted to bring to the my target audience how the students have actually engaged themselves in the way in which I wanted to represent that particular, it's a very small episode, but how it roped in the responses of the students. And that is how I went about making my presentation. So this is another way of making a presentation. So that's all for now. And I hand over to uh, Madhumita.
Thank you, Jolidi. That was absolutely an all-encompassing, comprehensive lecture, and the slides were absolutely brilliant. I think the way you captured the reading and the studying of Yayati, with also the response of the students. I'm sure the students have enjoyed it very much. We already have a question from Kolani Shashmal, who says, "Ma'am, thank you for this wonderful lecture. Uh, oh, she says that many queries regarding term papers are already cleared. So,
She's put in a smiley as well. So I
yes,
presume
yes,
that
yes,
she's very good
Yes,
at
yes.
making PPTs. So that's going to be very helpful
that
for
is,
her. She will, and the thing is, once you begin to create your PPTs, you train yourself to make a presentation, you feel confident, And at the same time, you can display your artistic abilities, your creativity. It's wonderful, and you begin to enjoy your work.
I learned a lot from the PPTs that you showed. It was absolutely brilliant. Thank you. And
Yes, so did I.
are there any more questions? I can't see them on the
Yes,
screen.
yes. There are no more questions, but if there is anyone from the faculty wanting to ask anything, or else we will wrap.
Or to make a comment.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I mean the questions, comments, anything that.
Yes, I think the students have mentioned that they have been mostly answered. So that is, I just put up a sample.
I don't think I have a question or a comment.
Yeah, go ahead, President.
Yeah, but yeah. So there's nothing to comment on other than saying that this was a wonderful presentation. Very clear, very clear. So this is what is needed, and it was absolutely like I'm sure the students must have been really, really enriched by this because it was exactly like the classroom teaching that they are used to. And the other thing, the next question that I have to Jolity is that when are you coming again? So it's wonderful having you here. I'm sure the students must be very enriched indeed.
Thank you so much. Actually, what happens is this is sharing the experiences of my colleagues in your department as well. That is, the more we interact with the students when they make their presentations, we understand their difficulties and problems. There's no denying the fact that students here in Vidyasagar University and students there in Diamond Harbour Women's University are the same, given the fact that many of them are first generation learners. And I must praise them and congratulate them for taking English as a discipline and coming this far till the postgraduate course. And therefore, it is our duty to facilitate their honing their abilities so that they go out into the wide world confident and make us proud of their future achievements. So, when we find that in the first semester they are very hesitant to express themselves, they are very shaky about their presentations, we gradually tell them where they go wrong so that in the following semesters, by the time they come to the fourth semester, they really know what is required, and that is very satisfying. Okay, how many slides can we use for a term paper presentations? Says Kollani Shashmal. I think too many slides would be cumbersome. So if it is a term paper, apart from the title slide and the thank you slide, you could use, I think, a maximum of 12. That would be good enough. But that depends on how you are going to make your presentation. Suppose, like I did, you must have noticed that one point which I wanted to break up into several items, I used maybe 4 slides where I could have used only one. So I put the first point, that was actually one slide. Then I went to the next slide where you had that first slide and the second slide. Sorry, second point, so on and so forth. So what you usually do is you make the slide with all the points and then you replicate them, copy paste, and take out the other points and put them in that serial order so that when you keep on changing the slides, it appears as if you're showing one point, then you're going to the next one, then you're going to the third one, and so forth. And it looks very impressive. So this is another technique. In that case, the number of slides will increase.
I think there are no more questions. Again, you know, students, thanking you for that wonderful lecture. Yes, Aparna, I think we can.
Okay. Thank you again, Jolidi. Now I would request our HOD ma'am, Madhumita Di, Madhumita Di for me, Dr. Madhumita Mojumdar, to kindly give the thank you note.
A very good afternoon to everyone. I think I would take and borrow words from Professor Jolly Das and say this that yes, we are here to facilitate students. The term paper, as we realized, in our discussions over the years, was an area where perhaps most of the students who are not only first generation learner, but most of them, this is the first time that they are working on such an aspect. Of course, one of the things that we tell them is that they will have to work on a text or a novel or an idea which has not really been covered in the curriculum or in the syllabus. So it is like going beyond. So therefore, uh, your lecture was not only just precise, but perhaps the many steps. What happens with the students before they start to think in the creative space? One of the many questions that come to us is that how do we write it? What are the steps to it? They look for these kind of uh, uh, answers so that they can build upon what they wish to talk about. Perhaps the ability to write something original or to write something different from what they have usually read about a particular text comes as a secondary thing to them. So I think what you have done very rightly is by telling them that these are steps, and now of course we will have term paper supervisors for them. It will be far easier for us to talk in terms of the content of the text, because this other binaries which happens to harp them, they are often the queries like what is a work cited, what is a bibliography, and how do we really go, and what are the parts of a term paper. Perhaps seem a little frugal to us at the beginning, but then you realize that these are the people who are doing it for the first time, and they need to be told this. So the lecture series in the department, rightly, all of us have thought that we are going to have this lecture series where we are going to answer and try and address these things for the students. And this was one aspect. And such a lecture, this kind of a lecture on term paper and term presentation is being done for the first time, and what an immense help. And we just hope, and I just feel at this particular point, if we had just known this last year, things would have been much better for us even earlier. And of course, like all of us here, we look forward to a physical interaction with you. We hope that we'll have you for other conversations. So thank you so much for being with us and taking time to be with us. And I would thank in this given circumstances the other people who are always there with us. I would like to thank our registrar sir of Diamond Harbour Women's University. He has always been supportive of our academic ventures. I would like to thank Dr. Oparajita Hajra, Dean and Professor in the department. She is somebody who keeps on guiding us on a lot of things, and of course, that is of such a help to the department. I would like to thank my colleagues, Dr. Aparna Singh, Kumar Aditya Sharkar, Dr. Habib Suban, Mallory Mandel, and Dr. Indrila Ghosh. All of us, together, seven of us, make a team, and of course, all these things are part of that venture. And once again, thank you, ma'am, for being with us. And of course, let me assure you, this is a beginning of a journey and a beginning of an interaction that you will have with Diamond Harbour Women's University, the Department of English. We will continue with this. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you
And of
so
course,
much
our
for the
dear
invitation,
students.
and I look forward to being there. Thank you.
Yes, and our students, they have been so happy. I could
I'm
just
very grateful to them for being here.
yes, like they just just one more, they just things were like a lot of, so they were like very tensed. What I can now see from what they are suggesting, they will start writing their abstracts. So that is a great thing for us. So thank you so much for doing that for us.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Charlie.
much.
Thank you very much, Jolity. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.